Hello, this is Christian. In this video, we're gonna go and finish up this table for displaying our flight data. And so last time we did was we added the uh, header here and the button, which I don't see it showing up here because I turned that off. So in the code here, I put a loop here. That's why there's nothing there, so you don't get anything returned here. Once it has some data, you should see that it's something should come up. So let's go and grab the data first. I'm going to go to this site here on the assignment. You can download this file, or you just open directly here. It's all in object or JSON format already. Not in true JSON format, of course, but I think it is. Yeah, it is the JSON data. So I'm going to copy everything here. Just right-click and Control C and copy everything. Control A, Control C, copy everything, and you can close this now. And so let's go back to the code. And we're not going to put the data right here. Okay, so usually you would add it to a different data like I showed you in the assignment, or like the nav data. That means I'm going to go to the models folder, create a file, and we'll call this FlightData.js. This will be our model, and I'm just going to call it a constant flight data, the same name as this file, equals, and we paste in what we copy from the browser. So here we go. We just have 10 flight information here. So those fields will map to the one that we create in the form, in the component, and then we just need to export this out. Export default flight data. Okay, so this one here is good to go. We're done here. We can close this. Now in the app.js file, we need to import that in here as well. So I'm going to go and do the import flight data from the same place as the models folder, and then just flight, and then tab, and then it selects that for you. Then now, I remember in the previous video I already created this property called flight data, and instead of an empty list, it's going to be coming from this flight data up here. Okay, so now we can go ahead and put flight data here. All right, so now we have a state, has two properties called nav data and flight data. And then when we delete a flight information, flight ID, this ID here is the actual ID in the flight data, not an index. Okay, even though they kind of map out similarly, but the ID will be the actual ID in the file. And so let's save this. Now we can go into the body of this file down here, and now we have the data already. You can see that we already set this up. If you haven't done that, you should want to make sure you set this up like this. So the passengers to flight information, for each flight, there are 10 of them. And so now when we do the TR, okay, actually this one should be a little bit to the right. Let me do a right click and then format document. Yeah, it should be like that. Tabbed a little bit over. So we want to put the key here as usual. Key is equal to the flight ID. Okay, we'll make that unique. And then this ID here would be the flight ID also. And then now the first one is the flight dot airline. This is the I think trip type. And then this will be the flight departure airport, arrival airport, and then this is the flight departure date. This is the arrival date. Date. And then this is the did I miss something? Airline, flight type. I'm missing something, did I? Let's see, the ID, airline, trip type, departure, airport, departure date, flight date. Or do I have too many here? Let's go back and check it out. The actual ID here we have the return date, the flight number. Yep, flight number first before the trip type. Okay, I missed that. So we have the flight number here. So I'm gonna just delete this. Oops, delete that, and then before the trip type, I'm gonna do a Alt Shift. This will be the flight number. Here we go. Okay, and then when we do the edit down here in the link here, and it's kind of hard to see, but let me move this into the own line so it's easier to see. Okay, so in the edit, you don't want to say ID here. You want to say ID, whatever this ID is, right? So that means you need to wrap this whole thing with the curlies, and then inside here you can remove that ID and do a concatenation with the flight ID. Okay, so that will add it to the URL. And then down here, we don't want to do this. We don't want to say flight and then we pass in the flight ID. If you do that, it's a problem because as you run it, it's going to invoke right away. And we don't want to do that. We only invoke this when we click on the button. So what that means is you have to put this into a callback function like that. So put it inside the arrow function, and when we call it, let's see if I miss one. Yeah, one more curlies. There you go. Okay, so when I put this in separate lines, you can see also. When I click on it, I'm going to invoke this function, and then I pass the ID to that function, and it will only occur when you click on it. Okay, so if I do that, I pass the ID, and then the flight ID goes separate to the function, and it just log it to the console so we could see the correct ID being passed. So let's go to the browser and see if that is what we get. So let's go here, and here we go. All the data are here already, so you can see there's a thing going on here. We're going to fix that because it's too tight. Looks like it doesn't line up correctly. I must have something incorrectly. Yeah, it's yeah, we're missing the data column here. Okay, but anyway, so we can see that if I go to F12 and if I click on the delete, right, you pass the ID of 1. This is the ID here. If I click on ID 6, it should pass ID 6. So we can delete that row record. Okay, so let's fix this arrival date here. I think I missed that somewhere in the code. The arrival date, flight ID, flight airline, flight number, trip type, departure. What did I have it wrong? Let's see. Oh, return date. All right, it's called return date. I wish you would just correct that for me, but guess not. Okay, so that's good. And I think that's all we needed for this one here. It's just a button. Okay, so everything's good here. And if I click edit, you see that in the URL, it passed the ID to it. We'll fix that later. We'll click edit 3, it passed ID 3 to it. Okay, so that's working nicely. And so let's fix this button here. So make sure they are properly on the same line. And I think that's probably why I put it the width in here in my code. And so let's see what I have. So you don't have to redo this again. Up here, I put it a style of margin, well, 10px. Let's just copy and use that. So for the A type, anywhere in here is fine. We'll put it right after the button. And again, you have to say style, and then this one has to be like that. Okay, the double curlies. And the name of that will be just margin left, camel case. And the value we'll always put in string. You don't need a comma here, I guess. Okay, let's see if that works. Margin left, I'm not sure if that's what I'm not sure that's what will fix it. Yeah, no, it doesn't fix it. Um, you want this length to be wide enough to be able to fit both of them. So some of these are um, too short. Let me see. I'm just going to fix it right here. See, this last column, I want to have a length, a width of 150px. Yeah, something like that. I'm going to force it to be 150px so it would fit. Maybe even a little bit higher. Maybe 155 or so. Just it have, yeah, so I'll call it 155. Um, well, 150. Yeah, it just, again, the date here are kind of bad. I didn't want to have that thing there like that either. So let's see all these dates. I wanted to have something like, let's see, go down here, the last row. Let's see, word, wrap, break, none. Yeah, I don't want to break it either. Let's see, close this. Let's see what's going on here. Let's see what we can do here. Let's go back to the code and see what we can modify here. Okay, so this was not, didn't think here. I'm gonna just remove this margin left. This is a different way to do it. Maybe we'll remove the column, I guess. Or we'll just make it large. How's that? I don't know. Oh, gee, we'll see if that makes any changes. Large size, and I also want to force the last column to have a width of, again, we'll just use 150 and let's see what that looks like. Save that. Go to the view. Okay, a little bit better. Well, this column is still not have enough space here, so I guess I'm just going to remove that column thing. Let's remove it. Just put this whole thing here. Not really nice. I would just probably, if I just keep this, maybe like MB5, and I move this class name. So right down here, remove that. And let's see what that looks like. Oh, we didn't ruin it. Okay, so that's good, and that's much better. And what I'm gonna put some padding around here, or some margins around here. So we'll maybe put a margin on the left button, on the right button. So we'll keep that. The button here, I'm gonna add here a margin left of maybe about 2. Okay, so let's see. All right, perfect. Looks good enough for me. Okay, so again, when I press F12 and if I click on the delete ID2, it shows up 2 here, and then the edit will load a different page. Okay, so later on when we fix this, when we have router installed and added to it, we don't want the page to reload. Okay, we don't want to, the URL will change, but the page will never reload, and so data will load asynchronously or instantly on the view here, so we don't lose data because now because our data are only stored in memory, so it's not really persistent. All right, I think that is good to go, and so I'm gonna do one more thing, and then we'll done with this video here. Now, notice here again, these are a lot of parts in here. So you can do is you can move this to a separate component called maybe like header. If you want to do that, make it code much less uh, cluttered. And then the body also, you can move this into another component, and then just add it here with that body tag. So and let me just do that really quick, okay? So let's just say that we're gonna add. You know what? Actually, this is not a good idea. I'm gonna move this to a maybe in a separate video, we will move this to a child component and we'll pass this into the child component. But for now, this is good enough. So make sure that we have the flight data information added here. The button is working. We just haven't implemented the functionality yet, but so far so good.